2 videos ago, I rebuilt a Chrysler 300 Hemi. If you haven't seen that video, I bought it sight unseen from Pickles Auctions, brought it back to my little garage here and decided to get it registered and on the road and flip it for a little bit of extra coin to support these builds. This is my 72 XA Falcon, which as you can see is in various states of a build all at once, but we're making a whole heap of progress on that. If you look at the last video, we made a whole bunch, and on the next video, we're making even more leaps and bounds on the XA. But this video is not that video. You see, I made a little bit of profit on the Chrysler and I thought, what if I rolled that into another one and did it again? So without further ado, so I made a couple grand profit on the Chrysler. Wasn't too much considering there was a lot of things that just kept coming up as I was building it, and Chrysler parts are very expensive. Trying to rebuild an SRT Chrysler here in Australia, people just wanted so much money for everything. And there was all these little things that kept on breaking. But I managed to sell it off, make a little bit of money. And I thought, what if I could do that with a car where the parts were a lot easier to find? Thus the Ranger. Not only easier to find the parts, but easier to find out how to repair things, and something where I could just go to the dealership and buy all the parts brand new. And the ability to get parts brand new from the dealer for a reasonable price, coupled with a huge second-hand market, means that the returns could be huge. And that is exactly why I chose the Ford Ranger. It's the next gen model, so it's still relatively new. They still get pretty good price on the second-hand marketplace. And I got this one for a steal. I mean, I better have gotten it for a steal. Just look at the state of the bloody thing. But it got delivered a couple of days ago, and we had some issues getting it off the trailer, because one of the reasons I suspect I got this at such a good price, it was missing both its keys. It didn't come with keys. Now, unbeknownst to me, push to start cars, missing their keys, nightmare. Not only that, mucho expensiano. So I'll overlay some of the security footage and some of the other footage that I got of us getting this thing off the trailer. It was dodgy as all hell. I had to use the courier to like ram it into position. Oh, it was cooked. Didn't enjoy it at all. But A1 Locksmiths came out. They had to buy the Ford codes, and at a cost of $1,650, I got 2 new keys for the Ranger, so I could drive it around, maneuver it. And whilst that was all happening, I went and collected a whole bunch of parts for this thing. So as you can see here, a whole bunch of front end bits, radiator, AC condenser, brackets, fascias, all these little bits straight from the Ford dealer. I've also gone out and grabbed brand new Raptor. We'll be using this grill, the Raptor style grill, just to make it stand out a little bit more for the sale process. There's a brand new tub. So this tub, brand new, you can tell, 0 road wear on it. He basically bought it from the dealership and put a tray on it, same thing. So this set me back $600. And of course comes with the rear bar, the color-coded rear bar. Punch brackets, comes with the lights as well. A direct replacement for this tray here. And then the parts from Ford. I'm only waiting on 2 more things from Ford to rock up, but this lot was about $1,500. Radiator, AC condenser, brackets, fascias, all the lot. So off of what I've collected so far, that is enough to get the car running, driving, perfectly good to go. And hopefully to an inspection station. That's granted, we don't start pulling things apart and find more wrong with the Ranger, which, as we know, is generally how the story goes. But of course, the only way to find out is to pull this thing into the garage and start ripping into it. First off, we're gonna be taking off the old tray, the canopy. It's gonna be a bloody nightmare because it's just me. I might have to go down the road and employ the help of the neighbor. But we'll see how we go. Rip the tray off, see how she's looking, try and get this other tray on, see if we can get this whole car done in a weekend. All right, step 1, we're gonna get this canopy off. Now, I don't mess with four-wheel drives. I see muscle cars, all that sort of jazz, normal cars, my thing. Four-wheel drives, not my thing. I'll be the first to admit it. I lack a hoist and any, if at all, lifting equipment. So this will be interesting.
The canopy seemed like something that I could lift off by myself. I didn't get any help from any of the neighbors. I didn't want to go and disturb them for something that would seem pretty easy. Did a couple of test lifts and thought, yep, I can totally do this myself. I was immediately proven wrong. I had to go and grab the engine crane and figure out how I was going to use the engine crane to help me get this thing off. I eventually found 2 points that I could attach chains to and use that to support the entire weight of the canopy, along with a lifting strap to help me lever off and balance it perfectly. This seemed to be the winning combination to get the canopy off very easily, and I thought I was an absolute genius. Obviously, I spoke way too soon, because although this is sped up and cut, this took about 15 minutes of just pure physical exertion. Now, if I were to do this again, I'd probably do it in the exact same way, because I'm an idiot, but at least I would move the car forward a bit so I had a little bit more room. Right here, I'd backed all the way up against the wall. There was nowhere for me to go further back, so I had to try and figure out some way to balance it on the back of the ute and do this and that and get under it, support it on my back while I disconnected the chains. And then I found I was stuck. So I'm trying to move the engine crane out. I'm stuck underneath it. I can't move it down. The engine crane can't move anywhere because it's stuck. It was a horrible situation, but through pure struggle, we got there eventually and got it off.
Now, I thought before doing that, before I commit to this, I should probably drive it forward, give me ample room, but I thought, nah, there'll be enough room. There wasn't enough room. There wasn't enough room.
So next issue I had was storing the canopy itself. I've got absolutely no room. I've got a little 3-car garage. That's all the room I have, and 2 of those bays are already taken up with project cars. So, being that they're utes, where's the best place to store a ute canopy? On the XA, and it fit pretty well, allows me to still get to the back of the XA to store some things, so that worked out absolutely perfect, and gives me a little storage rack on top to store even more things.
Perfect place to store it. I can still put everything in here. Yeah, good. All right. That's back in here. Time for the tray.
Getting the tub off was incredibly easy. There's 2 bolts that hold on the tail lights and then they just pop out. After you've done that, unplug it from the wiring loom and then pass that through, and that's the tail lights done. The rest of the tub is basically just clips holding on the wiring loom and 3 bolts either side. Now here I had to take off the tow bar, and because the tow bar had suffered a hit, it was pretty difficult to get off. Bits of metal and bits of brackets had been bent in the way of certain bolts. So I had to use a pry bar and some just sheer force to try and bend some brackets out of the way to get to the bolts. But once they're out of the way, came off pretty easy, and I was able to slap that straight in the bin.
I don't know if you can tell, I am sweating. The afternoon sun in Western Australia, it's not only is it intense, but it's coming straight into the garage. And doing all that, I'm cooked. But we keep bloody going. That means the sun's only getting lower, and eventually it's gonna start getting cooler. So, let's keep going. All right, next step, I'm gonna go through and unclip all the wiring harness, sort of plastic clips that keep it secured to the tray. So undo those, and then we'll undo all the bolts holding the tray on. For example, this one right here, for this plug. Yeah, right, stuff like that. Right, I'll go through, do the same to the other side. We'll get these wires disconnected, undo all the bolts, and then we will, in quite possibly the most dodgy way ever, I'll try and lift this tub off with an engine crane and myself. So we'll see how that goes, and I will see you when I've got all the bolts out and the tray's ready to come off. All right, fuel dick's disconnected. 1, 2, 3 bolts holding the tray. This side, same on the other side. A couple of little plugs, and she's ready to go.
Now, because I obviously didn't learn my lesson with the steel canopy, I thought I could do this myself, given that it seemed pretty light on the test lifts that I did. And given that it is totally wrecked, I don't care, I can just basically throw it off. So after lifting up this rear end, I thought I'd get this back end up and double check to see if there was anything connected, so I'm not pulling out any plugs or connectors. Looked okay, this point slips down the tyre, and I realise I'm an idiot, why don't I learn my lesson? But after that, basically just Hulk flipped it off, and it is good to go to the tip.
Alright, tray's off. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. When you don't really care about the tray, very easy to get it off. Let's just lift up. You saw me tip it over. But, tray's off. Let's get her out. That's me done for the night. I'm going to order a pizza, clean up, and get back to this in the morning. I'd love to work on this throughout the night, but I'm not in the workshop anymore. I'm not in the warehouse. I'm in a nice, quiet street where people come to retire and not hear hammers and rattle guns all through Friday night. So I respect that. I'll go inside and watch Lord of the Rings. So I'll see you guys in the morning. And it is said next day. So I've already started, then I remembered I've got to film this stuff. So front end, started to take that off. There's the old front bar. Unfortunately, the headlights, there's meant to be a big bracket there. It's snapped off on both of them. So these headlights, unfortunately, cooked. And that is a very expensive fix. It's like $1,200 for a set of headlights. And that's like aftermarket, not even genuine. They have very, very, very flimsy upper brackets. So kind of surprising that a headlight unit that big has an incredibly flimsy bracket. And I'll show you. So this is the bracket for the headlight. This was once attached to the headlight, but they're very long, very flimsy, and break incredibly easily. So they broke in the exact same spot, both sides. We're waiting for new ones of those to rock up. That is the old front bar. She is cooked. Here is the new one. And you'll notice it's a little bit different. This is off, I think, a sport model. I did get this one, which is off a wild truck. And I even got the paint to color match it, but that came up literally a day later. So I'll just sell that one on. Saves me having to color match. So we got the new front bar and all the plastic.
Pulling all this stuff apart was super easy. It was just a whole bunch of broken plastic bits and pieces
from Ford
that are used to direct air straight into the radiator and also support certain things. Headlights,
let's start taking things off and see how we go.
Front bar mounts to this in certain places, so this thing was totally cooked. Ripped it out and started disconnecting the front crash bar, which had suffered a bit of a hit, but luckily, given that the crash bar's purpose is to protect everything, it did its purpose, it protected everything, it took the brunt of the hit, it bent and absorbed all the damage. So the other things that really got damaged beyond that were the radiator and the AC condenser.
And radiator's out. Ended up taking the intercooler out because turns out it would have been a lot easier if I just took the intercooler out to begin with, and it actually just sits in those little rubber mountings. So intercooler's out, radiator, thermofan, new radiator. Transfer that to that, super easy, just gotta click your fingers. Done. All right, sweet. Let's get that back in. All right, turns out I wasn't recording, but that just dropped straight in. Super easy to get a new one in. We'll go through, hook these hoses up, get the new condenser on, and I am, this is dirty coolant water. I need to put the camera on charge, so I will do that, and by then, this should all be together. So, once more. All right, so we've got the AC condenser and radiator in, as well as the intercooler. So now we're putting the big expensive plastic thing on. This from Ford was $500 just for that bit there, that little piece here with the rubber ducks. It's another $100, but that's the old one. A little bit cooked, so this was a necessity. I think this will look nice. Big, nice new plastic thing on the front. So let's get this on. Because it came off in pieces, I'm not entirely sure where everything sort of went in regards to wiring and routing, so pretty sure I'll be able to figure it out. So that's as far as I can go for now. I'm still waiting on that crash bar to come so I can put the new crash bar in and then mount the radar to it. And then once that's on, I've got to wait for the new headlights, and the new headlights go on, and then the front bar. But I will put the new front bar on now and put all the sensors and the harness and get all that connected to the front bar, and we'll slap it on because I've got to fill this with coolant, run it to temperature, check for leaks, and I just want to see what it looks like. That's it. I haven't fully put the bar on, and then the grill. I haven't clipped the grill in because I really don't want to break anything getting it back out. So a couple of trusty zip ties. Put it out in the sun so it's a little bit better. But first, I'll put some coolant in. Tow bar, brand spanking new. I'm talking brand new. Bloke took it off his car straight off the dealership and fitted some kind of canopy on the back. So brand new tow bar, that'll go on. Doesn't need to go on just yet though, so we'll focus about getting this tub on, take all our measurements, make sure it's all good. And then I've got to go back to work, fly back to work, and I'm not back until Christmas Eve. So if this thing looks complete, it won't look like I've got a wreck at the front of the house. Although it has looked like that for the past week, but at least people see me working on it, you know?
I think it sits here. Yeah.
But it's like it looks really tight.
It's an XLT. And this is an XLT. That's what I was like, hang on. Before we fucking... Oh no.
I think that might be an extra cap, man.
Oh no!
So, one thing I wasn't told when I bought it, this is an extra cab tub. It's just up for sale as an XLT tub. I just assumed it would be a standard 4-door, but as you can see, that distance there, no fit there. So this is an extra cab tub. It does not fit in any way. That's super heartbreaking. I was kind of keen to get that on and just get this thing looking complete, do the measurements, but now I've basically got to sell that and go and find another white XLT tub. I don't want to deal with getting a different colored tub and getting it spray painted. So for the next week, while I'm at work, I'm going to be searching for a white XLT tub. If you got one in Western Australia, let me know. But that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and on the next video, I promise it'll be finished. We'll be registering it, taking it for a trip to Lancelin, putting it through its paces before selling it for potentially massive profit. I still haven't told you guys how much I paid for it or how much the repairs have cost so far, but could be in for a good time. 2JZ XC could be getting a Haltech a lot sooner than I expected. So once again, thank you very much. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're viewing me from, whatever time it is, strap yourselves in and get ready for a half hour of absolute adrenaline pumping wrench action, or just some casual Tuesday afternoon viewing. I'm not sure. But if this is your first time viewing me, last episode I bought this crash damaged Ford Ranger at an auction and started rebuilding it. Now, first thing, if you have seen that episode, you will realize I've got a microphone this time. Poor audio last time, I'm very sorry for that. And not only that, you'll also notice I have a tray on. I did get the correct tray between then and now, and I've slapped it on. I think I filmed it. I might overlay some footage here. Hold up real quick. There was a little bit more that I had to do than just put the tray on. I also found another issue once I had the tray off, and I was looking a little bit more into the ute to try and find if anything else was damaged, and I had to replace the rear leaf springs. Now, you might be thinking, why rear leaf springs? It's like the third time it took me to get that right. And that's because upon closer investigation of basically all the parts, I just wanted to make sure it was pretty much ready for inspection in all the other areas other than what was obvious. And that's because the right leaf spring has been hit. When it got hit from the rear, the car must have gone under and hit the rear shackle, and it's caused the top leaf to bend. I'll show you that in a second. And because my driveway is slanted, I'd been noticing that the car was leaning a little bit. I just thought it was because it was on a slant and parked at an angle, but I had a bit of a closer look and found this. Right, as you can see here, there's a lot of paint missing from the top of this leaf, and you can just tell that the little clip is totally bent out of whack, and that's because that leaf has been bent and it's broken out of that little clip. And you can see here, sharp bend, that's where the car hit, is at the back of the shackle, and that sort of caused that bend. And when we compare it to the other side, totally different. So it's all intact and they're all flat and relatively together. Now, you can't just replace one leaf pack, you've got to replace them both, because you don't know if this one is sagging a little bit or that one's sagging a little bit. You just got to replace both just to ensure you're getting the correct suspension setup. So these, believe it or not, are secondhand. Picked them up from Tony's Auto Wreckers here in Perth, and they look like they've come off a brand new Ranger. Like, these are, they're pretty much brand new. So that's a pretty wicked steal. So I'm going to be slapping these on. It'll just make it look a little bit fresher on the underside as well, so that'll look better for inspection. And then after those springs are on, we're going to be chucking the tub on. So as you can see, that is a different tub than what I had before. I had to wait quite a while to get it because it is the Christmas period, and I couldn't just grab another one secondhand because I had to offload the one that I had, and I don't have anywhere to store it. There's no room. So I had to go to a Wreckers and pay a hell of a lot more for a tub, but the benefit of that was I could just give them my old tub and be done with it. So I've got the correct tub, I've got new leaf springs, we've got the new tow bar as well. So let's hook into it, let's get this whole rear end sorted out and back together. And then that basically leaves the front crash support bar, which I'm still waiting to come from Ford because it is the Christmas period and it's taking a while to come from the eastern states. So without any more delays, let's get into these leaf springs. All right, my bad. I just rushed right into it, didn't even film. So anyways, you can definitely see the difference in the height. Obviously got a new leaf spring here behind it and the old one. So I guess it's kind of like acts as a lift kit, but not very reliable. Leaf springs are super easy, pretty much in and out them in like a minute, or a minute out, a minute in. Especially on these newer cars, I'm used to dealing with 50-year-old rust and bolts that just break and snap and no good. Loving new cars actually. All the bolts just come out so bloody easily. So I pretty much just loosen off the U-bolts, jack the car up a little bit, undo the hanger, undo the front bolt, and that slides straight out. Leaf springs done. Now let's get the courier in here to get the tray off the courier, drive the courier out, reverse the Ranger and get the tray on the Ranger. Actually first, we're gonna put this tow bar on because it'll take 3 seconds and it'll just look better. Once again, another little click animation. And done. So now let's get this out. It is like 4:30 p.m. and I fly out to work tomorrow at 6 a.m. So try and get this tray done as quick as possible. I think we're just gonna sit it down. I'm not gonna bother bolting and hooking it up. Just gonna sit it down and that'll be it. Just to get it off the back of my courier so I'm not driving the tray to the airport again. Like last week, I had to take the tray that didn't fit to the airport because I just didn't have any time to put it anywhere else. So don't want to repeat of that. So let's get it done. Now, last episode we did do the front end. We put the front end together, did the radiator pack, did the cooling pack and all that from new front bar. We're waiting on the front crash bar to come from Ford. Because it was over the Christmas period, it's taking forever to get here. Hopefully I see that today or tomorrow. And I ended the video on having the incorrect tray. Now you'll notice this has a hard cover. Hard lid, hard cover, either or. I was gonna try and pull that down. I've taken the struts out because I'm about to put the lining in. And I was originally gonna sell the hard top and put the canopy back on, but then someone else in the comments suggested selling the canopy instead of putting it on because I could get more people interested in the ute and sell the canopy individually, make a bit more money. That's a bloody awesome idea. I'm doing that and I don't have to mess around trying to get the hard lid off and sell the hard lid. So, hard lid staying on. And straight off the rip, we're putting the tub liner in from the damaged tray. We're gonna put the tub liner in to this tray. This was a Poverty Pack XLT tray, I believe, XLS maybe, one of the two, but it had a blanking cover here, whereas my damaged tray had the 12 volt socket. So replacing that with the 12 volt socket one, plugging that into the loom, putting the tub liner in, making that look a lot neater. We have also got to install the camera for the tailgate, which goes into that little hole there and is a part of the wiring loom for the tailgate, as well as just generally connecting the tray. The tray isn't bolted in, it's not wired up. There was none of that has been done. I basically picked this up on a Monday afternoon, put it on and flew off to work. But now I'm back, ready to get this pretty much completed. The only thing is headlights. I'm waiting on headlights to come from Gold Coast. It was gonna cost me over $2,000 for a set of genuine headlights. I picked these ones up secondhand for $1,000. It's just taking forever to come from Queensland because of the Christmas period. And normally things take a millennia to come from East Coast to West Coast. I don't know what it is. It's 2025 now. It still takes a week for a letter to get from Sydney to Perth, which is insane. So that'll delay this getting registered just a smidge, but hopefully we can nut out the rest of this stuff. So first things first, tub liner into there, get all that in, hooked up, connected, lights back in. Let's get into it.
Putting the tub liner in is super simple. It literally just slots in and then you add the tie down points over the top of it and it sort of secures it along with a bunch of plastic screw clips that just keep the top lined up. Here I'm putting in the 12 volt accessory power panel as well as putting in the rest of the tie down points. Now with these tie down points, these use a TP40 piece. It's not a Torx bit that's, a T40 or a T45. It's a completely different one called a TP40 that has a lot thicker edges on it. Onto putting the wiring harness through the tailgate. Super simple, clips in all along the way, and it's pretty much impossible to mess this one up. And the camera sits behind the Ford badge with a little clip on top of it. That clicks into place with a tiny little, I think it's a T20, that you can't actually get access to with a tool. You got to use your fingers to put it in pretty much all the way. So that was really fun. And now it's just plugging in the wiring harness and we're good to go.
All right, so that's all hooked up now. Before I commit to tightening everything up and tidying up all the wiring, just got to triple check it works, because the worst thing is when you do it all up and then you get an error and you got to go and cut all your zip ties and do all that again. So,
all right, beauty. First camera works perfectly. That's all good.
I did not know that was a feature. That's pretty cool. Bit of a top down. So the only issues we have are parking sensors, which is understandable because there are no parking sensors attached to the rear. Because to put the parking sensors on, I need to put the tow bar on to put the rear bar on. However, I can't put the tow bar on because the tow bar is incorrect. I know, would you believe it? I bought the wrong bloody tow bar. Turns out this is a tow bar for a 2-wheel drive tray back, so it doesn't have the mounting points for a rear bar. I seem to be buying all the Ranger parts for the niche Rangers that no one really has, as opposed to the most common variant of Ranger. But I found another one, I'm about to go pick it up. It's the proper tow bar. I'm gonna go grab that now so I can put it on, put the rear bar on, and basically get this whole rear end sorted out. And then the only thing that will be left is this front crash bar that sits across here, which then in turn mounts this, which is the radar holder. The radar is not connected. I've got that stashed safely away because they are very expensive. So hopefully this rocks up to Ford. The whole Christmas break has really messed with the shipping on that. And these headlights also messed up by Christmas shipping. They are still on their way from Queensland. And on the last video, there was a couple of comments about just plastic welding the tabs on the headlights. That was my first thought. However, pieces, just small pieces and triangles of the top clip and of the lower clips, which were broken as well, were totally missing. So obviously it broke, sections had fallen onto the road and they're lost forever. So even if I wanted to plastic weld it, it wasn't a clean snap. It was like a snap and break and little pieces came off. So I was missing heaps of chunks. So that's why I've had to buy secondhand headlights. However, I will keep these headlights so when the new ones rock up, I can scan those mounting points and then 3D print new brackets and then plastic weld those onto them and then maybe sell those to someone else in need or keep them in case another Ranger pops up. But for now, I've got to go pick up this rear bar. So it doesn't look like I'll be getting it registered this week. Unfortunately, still waiting for that front crash bar and the front headlights. Super frustrating because that's literally the only things I need. And in Australia, it takes weeks for things to come from one side of the country to the other. You can't get something in 1 or 2 days. It literally takes weeks. It's insanity. It's like we're a third world country here. It's crazy. And we're back. I just picked up the new tow bar. As you can see, totally different to accommodate mounting a rear bar to it. So let's get this on, get the rear bar on, and get this rear end looking a little bit more put together. All right, so I just pulled this out of the box and I haven't looked at it since I took it out. I totally forgot I need a new one of these. As you can tell here, the wires are a bit cooked. Now I would just repair those and put them back in the plug, but I don't have the plug there for, and they're all these style connectors for the parking sensors. That got ripped off and I'm missing a sensor entirely. Well, it was on that side and that's the side that got hit and that sensor just wasn't even around. I'm assuming it just got totally cut off and dropped on the road. So instead of messing around with that, and it's also missing the plug for the other light, it's just totally cooked and I don't have that. So we'll grab a new harness from the wreckers as well as 1 metric white sensor. However, I've got it loosely connected to the tow bar, so we'll get it up into position, get it all leveled out, and I'm pretty sure even when it's mounted, there's still enough room to get the harness in there and get all that sorted out, so I won't have to take it off again. Just in time, front crash bar has arrived. It arrived at Ford on Friday afternoon, about 2 minutes before they shut, conveniently. So it's Monday now, I fly back to work tomorrow. I've just gone and picked it up. So let's get this front crash bar on. And then after that, it's just waiting for the headlights to rock up. And that's pretty much it. Then it's off for inspection. So I fly back to work tomorrow. I'll be away for a week. And when I get back, the headlights will be waiting for me and we'll be taking it to get its damage inspection and then going over the pits, which it should pass over the pits. It's pretty much a brand new car. And then immediately after that, taking it out, going to the sand dunes, I don't know, taking it somewhere. And then if I get offered, a decent amount, I'll sell it and we'll be straight on to the next one. But for now, let's get this front crash bar on and just get this out of the way. All right, GoPro ran out of battery. It's done. Front crash bar, pretty much just 3 bolts either side. Slots onto the front of the chassis, sits in front of the intercooler there. And then the radar mounts to it as well. The radar sits in there. I've got to go the radar. All right, so radar slots into there. That's on there now. I'm assuming I'll have to get that calibrated by Ford. Because I did change the front crash bar, I don't know if it's changed it a millimeter this way or that way or this way or that way. So I'm assuming that puts the radar out quite a lot. So I'll have to book that in to Ford just for them to double check it. You don't want to be relying on that to stop your car when someone's in front of you and then you just go into the back of them, because I'm not doing this again. But yeah, it's all on. I'm gonna leave the front end off. You will be happy to hear that I am putting this grill back on. There was a couple of comments about the Raptor grill, and I mean, they're 100% right. The Raptor grill is just all black. It looks third party, it looks different. Whereas this factory grill, it just looks so much better with the silver or the gray accents. Bit of color, it makes the front stand out a bit more. But I will be leaving all that off because when I get back, the headlights will be here and I need it all off to take the headlights off anyways. So that is it for this episode. We didn't get to register it like I did say in the last episode, but we're pretty much there and just 2 headlights and an inspection away from getting some number plates back on this thing. Now I need to get this edited and onto the YouTubes before I go to work. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next video where I promise we will be registering this and sending it up some sand dunes to give it a little bit of a test, a shakedown test. I've also almost finished the video on the XA, so I'm not sure which one will come out first. Will it be the XA video or the finale to this one? I guess we'll find out. See you guys in the next one.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Ooh, I've been on the flex since flex zone. Neighborhood all in your eardrums. I ain't never scared like Bone Crush. Boy, I got God, don't fear.
A couple of weeks ago, I bought a salvage title Ford Ranger. It was the next gen model, which makes getting parts a little bit easier as I can just go to the Ford dealership and buy them brand spanking new. But with a couple of difficulties along the way that hindered the progress, it's dragged it on a little bit longer than what I would have hoped. This was originally just meant to be a little 2-episoder, but it's dragged on into 3 episodes. No thanks to Australia's excruciatingly slow postage time. And if you watched the last episode, you'll know that I was pretty much just waiting on the headlights to rock up from Queensland. It was taking weeks for them to be posted over here. But I've just got confirmation. The headlights are about to rock up. They were meant to be here a couple of days ago, but they're on their way now. I did have the inspection booked for today. I had to cancel that. And originally I thought I wouldn't get it inspected for another fortnight due to Monday being the public holiday for Australia Day. But now that the headlights are coming this afternoon, I can put them on, get it inspected tomorrow morning, and then over the pits tomorrow afternoon, and then registered in the same afternoon. One day to punch it all out. That's if everything runs smoothly. But a couple of other little things I've got to fix up before then. I've got to paint the rear bar. I wasn't going to paint the rear bar, but we got a little bit of time. So painting the rear bar, because it does have some scratches on it. I'm going to install the guard linings for the tub. And then once the headlights arrive, obviously, whip in the headlights and get that front bar on and get that whole assembly mounted up. So we've got a lot to do this afternoon. I've got to go and get a stat deck signed as well to certify all the work that I've done to the Ranger, because that's part of the requirements of getting the car inspected for written off damage. You gotta have a stat deck, as well as printing off receipts pictures of the work, all that sort of jazz. I've got to get all that organized. So this afternoon's going to be pretty busy. Might be carrying on into the night time, but if I can get this thing registered tomorrow, I might drive it straight to a dealership on Saturday, see how much they'll give me for it, because something else has popped up that I really, really want. And that means I have to sell the Ranger. So there's a lot of pressure riding on the next 2 days, but it'll all be worth it. So let's get straight into the work. All right, so a little bit of wet sanding and another coat after the wet sanding for 2500 grit. They look pretty good. So I'll let that dry off. I've got new sensor from Ford here. This little bastard cost me like 120 bucks, I think. And we have the new wiring harness, which you gotta love new things. This was only 120 bucks, I think. So I don't know why I just didn't get this originally with all the other parts. I thought these would cost a shitload of money because of my experience with the Chrysler rebuild. But 120 bucks, just go down to Ford, pick it up. Don't have to worry about finding one from a wreckers or anything like that. And I know it's the exact same part number. So let's slap it in. All right, so before I get into it, I've got all the old clips from the old harness still in here. New one comes with newies. So I've got to pull all these little bastards out. I really should have done that when this was off the car. So I'm going to pull these out first and then we're going to put the harness in. All right, so that's all done. Harness is all clipped in, looking fresh. No errors on the dash. That's what we want. Now, whilst I was watching paint dry, something exciting happened and the headlights rocked up. Not 3 of them. Those 2 are the cooked ones. That's a newie. And that's a newie. As you can see, wee bit of a difference in bracketry. You got this big piece here, which is what had snapped into pieces on this one, as well as this piece here is that bracket there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 mounting points that have been cracked off on each headlight. But they have rocked up. It is like 5:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and this is booked in for an inspection tomorrow morning at 8:30. Don't get another opportunity because Monday is a public holiday and I fly to work first thing Tuesday. So everything has to happen flawlessly tomorrow. I've got everything organized. I've got everything there. I've got the pictures. I've got the stat deck written. I've got all the receipts for all the parts that I've bought. Big folder, all sorted out. I just need to take this vehicle in a functioning state. So I've got to get these headlights on and then I've got to turn it on to see if the headlights work. I've watched way too many Matt Armstrong videos where he's plugged in like a Porsche headlight and because it wasn't coded to the VIN, it just didn't work.
Put the headlights on. Let's even put the hazards on. Hazards are on and I've got nothing.
So I hope to God that's not the case with Fords. Surely it isn't. There's a lot of aftermarket headlight options. I went with a factory one, which is why I had to get it ordered from the Gold Coast and sent via couriers. By the way, check the state of the box that they rocked up in. These are very fragile, mind you. So yeah, that could have been disastrous, but they're here. It's getting late. It's like 35 degrees in here. I've got the fan pumping and just, look at my spirit levels, just perfectly edged to avoid fan blades. You get these headlights in, get the front bar mounted, get it all sorted, take it for a lap around the block. And just hope there's no warning lights. Would you believe I've got to disconnect the fender at here so I can move it out because the headlight doesn't fit over the brackets and over everything. There's like all these different mounting points. It doesn't fit unless the guard moves out. Look, it sounds crazy, but at this point, nothing surprises me on these modern cars. All right, so it's all lined up. A little bit frustrating because now I have to deal with gaps again and make sure the gaps are right before I tighten the bolts on this quarter panel. All right, so the way I'm going about this is tightening up these ones here, leaving the top 2 loose and that one loose there. Actually, I might have to get it, but I want to put on the front bar first. So get both headlights on, put the front bar on, shut the bonnet, make sure everything's lined up-ish, and then basically if it's out a little bit, just line it up with these top ones here because that's a smidge of movement. But that one's done. So that one's done for now. On to this one. And I'm not going to record that one because if you want to know what that one looks like, just mirror image the one I literally just did. All right, headlights are in. Now, time to get this front bar on and hopefully everything lines up. I'm really hungry, I really want dinner, and I really want this to pass tomorrow morning in both inspections. Let's get this front bar on and it'll all be all right. All right, we're done. Buttoned up. Few minor adjustments to be made, but they can do them anytime. So thank God headlights are working. Nice LED headlights. And everyone's glad to see, I know, the normal grill is back on, not the Raptor style grill. So God, that looks 10 times better, honestly. But let's jump in, take it for a drive. Cruise control works, radars are working, nothing's throwing a fault, and oh my Lord, would you bloody look at that. What a test drive, eh? Don't get sunsets like that over east, that's for sure. And we are witnessing it. Ooh, the last little bit and the sun's gone. But yeah, happy with that. All right, we are here at the inspection place. Everything is in order. Basically, to get these cars passed on written off vehicle inspection, you've got to have all the receipts. You've got to have, obviously, your movement permit. You've got to have the receipt for buying the vehicle. You've got to have a stat deck saying that you've done all the repairs. And you've got to have before and after pictures all printed out. So, with all that, give them that big folder, they do the inspection, and hopefully they pass it, which in this case, I'm sure they will. There's absolutely no reason not to pass it. So I'll go hand them the keys, and I'll see you in about 4.5 seconds when it's all done. Yep, we passed, we got it through the inspection, we got it registered, and I thought, what better way to end out the episode than to take quite possibly the most capable four-wheel drive that's ever existed and just bring it to its natural environment, which you'll find isn't this. I did take it to the shopping centre parking lot. I went over like 3 gutters. I thought, well, this doesn't look really good on video, so I'm really risking it out here, taking it to anywhere that isn't paved. But I literally just Googled four-wheel driving tracks near me. This one was just down the road from me, out of a place called Two Rocks, which is a town named after two rocks, would you believe? But we're out here, we're on highway tyres, which is very risky, but when it comes to sand, it's all about tyre pressures. So, but yes, we got it past the inspection. There was a little bit of a delay between getting the damage inspected and then getting it over the pits because I accidentally missed my appointment time and I couldn't get one until like another week and a bit later. So that's why this episode has taken a little bit longer to get out than what I anticipated, but we've got registration. She's good to go and it's done. So if you are wondering about written off vehicle, you got to get the damage inspected. Like I said, you got to take pictures and do all that. They inspect it, they clear the wover status on it, and then you take it over the pits, just like any other unregistered vehicle or roadworthy inspection for those in the eastern states. In New South Wales, I think it's like a blue, pink, yellow, maroon, and a purple slip, or whatever the hell New South Wales has to get a car registered. You got to fill out a form in Mandarin probably and be able to speak native Mongolian, but it's pretty straightforward. And I've already put it up for sale because I've got some big parts rocking up for the XA Falcon that need some big money. So I've popped it up for sale, hopefully fund the XA. And if something catches my eye, probably buy another bloody salvage car and turn this into a bit of a thing for the channel, but I really need to get some work done on the XA. But for the time being, let's just enjoy the Ranger. Now, I won't insult you guys and say, look at the four-wheel driving capability, because it's a factory Ranger with highway tires on. This isn't something special. I'm not gonna sit here, I'm not four-wheel driving TV, I'm not Australia's leading four-wheel drive channel, Mighty Car Mods. So I'm not gonna give you footage of this thing four-wheel drive and being like, yeah, we're taking it off road. Like, I'm immune to that shit. What I will say though is I'm glad it's done. I could finally allocate some more time to the X8 and the XC, which are drastically cooler than a factory Ranger. Now, I know you're all wondering, how much did this cost? How much did I get the Ranger for? What's the point of doing all this if it comes to the same cost as just buying one or just slightly cheaper? There has to be, you know, an incentive to do something like this. So we'll do a little bit of a walk around actually. I'll get back out and we'll go over the costs. Now, this is off the top of my head, so if I do forget anything, I will add it in. But the tray, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add up the cost of the mistake that I made, which was getting the wrong tray and then having to get another tray. So I think tray, the whole situation with that, all up, we're looking at about $1,200. Tray, tub, whatever you want to call it. Now, in saying that, I did sell the canopy. Thanks to that comment, I did make back $1,000 on the canopy, which is quite cheap for a canopy, but I just wanted to get it moved on. I didn't want to have that in the garage for too long. So I made back $1,000. Got a brand new tow bar. That was about where the microphone battery ran flat. So I only realized that while editing, the rest of the footage was just totally mute. So back onto it. The tow bar was about $150. The wiring loom for the rear bar, that was also around $120. That's pretty much it for the rear. So onto the front. The front bar I picked up for around $300, I think I got it for. The radiator, AC condenser, and all the plastics for the front end, the little air dams and whatnot, as well as the front crash bar, that came to a total of around $1,800, which isn't too bad for a radiator AC, like $1,800, it's not too bad. And that was pretty much it for the whole front end. You add in consumables, other stuff like that, maybe add another $200, $300 on for that. The most expensive thing obviously was the keys for $1,600 for 2 keys for this thing. And that leaves us with the inspections and registration. So the inspections was $250 for the Wover inspection, $140 for the roadworthy inspection, and then registration was about $1,100, including the stamp duty. So all up, not too, oh, hang on. There's another thing. 30 bucks for keys to the hardcover because it didn't come with keys. So throw that in. So we're going to add those to the cost of the actual car itself. So I won the Ranger at auction for $23,750. Then once you add on the fees that Pickles puts on, like a 10% fee, an admin fee, GST on top of the admin fee, the final amount came to around just over $27,000. I then paid $200 to have it towed to my house. So all up, whatever that number equals, I'll obviously put it somewhere on the screen. Not too bad for a pretty new four-wheel drive Ranger. Now I do have some concerns with the Ranger. I'll just climb into the bloody driver's seat real quick. But this is a four-wheel drive, right? You pay a lot of money for these four-wheel drives. And if I want to have a gander at what four-wheel drive specific functions this has on the main screen, we've pretty much, you go into off-road and all it gives you is off-road status. It'll show you four-wheel drive, your steering angle, and it's got your inclinometers up the top there. And that's it, which is absolutely nothing compared to my girlfriend's Mercedes-Benz, which isn't, it's four-wheel drive, but you wouldn't take it four-wheel driving. And it has bloody cool screens. It shows you the car on dirt. It gives you all this crazy four-wheel driving stuff, more than what an actual Ranger four-wheel drive does. So it's just an interesting point to note. But other than that, lovely car. Not bad for the price that I've paid. So if we sell this for roughly around market value, we'll be well into the green and ready to put the money into the XA. Now earlier I said big money parts coming for the XA. I have this entire quarter panel custom made. That's rocking up very shortly, which will then allow me to mount the roof on correctly, to do the quarter panel, to finish that quarter panel, to then put the doors on, to do the panel gaps, to finish the interior, and it all flows on from there. But that is an adventure for another time. And if you're still here, thank you for watching the video. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the like button. I'm gonna get back to replying to all of the is it available messages that I've got for the Ranger. Hopefully get it sold. And in the next episode, all about the XA Falcon. So hope to see you guys in the next one. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.